Oh man, that's pretty harsh. I got to say that's pretty harsh.
That was. Well, that's who you're dealing with right now. The right to to white nationalism. That's in there, right? That's in the Bill of Rights, right?
Yeah, of course. Sure.
Yeah. So why don't we get to them and actually let's break these bad boys down.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll let you start, John. Go right ahead. Roll into it.
So I always think the best place to start is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may offer like an outsider's point of view, let's be critical of the founders for just 1 minute. I think the founders got the Bill of Rights all wrong. Just their layout alone. You got to think like a student, right? Mm-hmm, you read the Bill of Rights and you think the First Amendment, right? Just think logically here, right? The First Amendment, how many rights do you think is in the First Amendment?
I mean, if you thought logically, there would be one if you're going by amendment. Exactly.
And then you think the Second Amendment's the second one, right?
Sure.
The Founding Fathers didn't do it that way. That was their problem. If anyone read the First Amendment and went, geez, there's an awful lot of rights in there, and you want me to read 10 of these? If you keep growing, this is going to turn into an essay. So I think that's the problem. They put too many rights in the First Amendment.
Really? That's what you think is going on?
I think so, yeah. I think people skipped over. They read the First Amendment, saw the first right, and went, freedom of religion, that doesn't affect me, or it does, or it doesn't. Mm-hmm. Move on. And they got bored. So what?
Really?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think the Founding Fathers are wrong in this one.
Okay. All
there
right.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back in time. I'm gonna go get my DeLorean and tell the Founding Fathers, listen, you need to listen to this Irish guy. I'll sort you out.
Okay, so we have there's five separate rights in the First Amendment, and I think we need to go through them a little bit. So why don't you help us out there?
Well, the first one is freedom of religion.
Yes,
and everyone talks. That's always for you religious folks, right?
Sure, yeah, that's right. That's for us religious folk.
Yeah, you Christians. You Christians, you people who believe in Jesus. That's only an amendment for you. That's not if I'm an atheist, that's not for me.
I mean, it is for you, yes.
No, it's not. It's for you Christian people, for you Jewish people, even for those Muslims. I'm an atheist. I'm not actually an atheist, but if I was, the freedom of religion doesn't affect me, right?
Well, I mean, it does.
How?
Because you have the right to not have religion. And so as such, you have a right to not worship, in effect.
Oh, so the freedom of religion is kind of like freedom to choose whichever way you want. So if you want to worship Jesus or God or Allah or a stone or the tooth fairy or Mother Nature, I'm free to do that. So it affects everyone?
Yes, it affects everyone.
Wow. It's almost like that saying I read the other day, whereas if a believer demands that I, as a non-believer, observe his taboos in the public domain, he is not asking for my respect, but for my submission.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, so the freedom of religion is for everyone. But where do you hear this argument today?
You don't hear it anywhere.
So the people who are against the Bill of Rights, Antifa or, atheists or, the gay baker, or not the gay baker, but the gay person wanting them to get married and stuff. Freedom of religion is just for them as much as everyone else. But where do you hear that being told to people?
Oh, you don't hear that anywhere.
Why?
Well, you don't hear that anywhere because, well, for one, it's not really. They don't really think that that person has the ability to expand on their religion outside of their church anymore.
Absolutely. So then you move on. What's the second right that's under the First Amendment?
Second right that's under the First Amendment? Well, you have the right to religion. You have the right to free speech. Which way are we going? Are we going just directly down the line?
Yeah, well, this is your show. You're driving it.
Well, yeah. I mean, whichever one you want to do, it's just fine.
Well, we do speech.
Okay.
So free speech.
Yeah.
Where do people talk about free speech? Because everyone talks about it, but y'all are having a debate right now in America. Do you really respect free speech?
I don't think we do.
Does anyone respect free speech?
I really don't think they do.
Why?
Well, for them, it doesn't make sense. If they respected free speech, then they would be, flat out, they would be actually allowing pretty much anybody to say whatever they wanted, and they wouldn't be fighting to force other people to do and say things that they want them to do.
I know. And look, as I just want to live in a world, personally, I'm a big free speech guy. I just want to be able to tell everyone I meet with my hand on my heart saying, look, the Yankees are the greatest sports franchise of all time. Get over it. I just want to have that speech.
You're really going to dig that in tonight, aren't you?
I am, absolutely. But here's the thing. You see, here's the great thing about your founders. I also will respect other people. They're wrong and they're idiots. But, if they come and say to me, the Red Sox are the best sports, I'd be like, okay, yeah, you're wrong. Sure. It's your hashtag fake news, but you got that right to say that.
Okay.
So do you think they should have the right to spread that lie?
Well, of course they do have the right to spread that, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. The founders then went on to a third one, the freedom of the press. Right. They started to repeat themselves. Because I always love this. It's kind of like, okay, we got the freedom of speech, but then we also got the freedom of the press. Yes. If you use your logic and you kind of go freedom of the speech, what argument can you make? Kind of go, yeah, we got freedom of speech, but you can't have free press.
Right.
So it's really doubling down on it.
Of course it is. So, it's incredibly, it's doubling down incredibly to a high degree, yes. And
absolutely, and you're going through a debate right now whether you have a free press or not. The question that needs to be asked, and it needs to be asked time and time again, is, if a press doesn't hold up their side of the bargain or hold up their responsibilities, do they have that right to be free?
Well, that is the question, isn't it?
And what would you say?
I would say that if they're not holding their end of the bargain there, then technically none of us are free.
Well, but do they have a right to be censored?
No, nobody has a right to be censored.
Okay, so then you get on to freedom of assembly. Do you think you have a right to control people who you associate with, who you go around with, who you hang around with?
That's a good question. I mean, if you look back at it and you see everything that's going on, should you have the right to tell other people who they can associate with? Is that what you're asking here? In essence?
Yeah.
No.
Why?
Quite simply, you don't have the authority to do that.
And why not?
Well, you don't have the authority because, one, you have the freedom to do that. That is a right given to you by God.
Amen. And then the last one is petition your government. Why is that important?
Well, let's say that something was going on. Your government was doing something stupid that they shouldn't be doing, and you wanted to point it out to them. You should have the right to talk to your government, to redress your government, and it's one of the reasons why, technically, even though we hate them, we have to say that lobby groups are okay.
Okay. So let me give you the other side of this angle.
Sure.
So this is why I think one of the things it's very important, and one of the things I always try and do in everything I talk about is to explain why America is different to the rest of the world. So if we go through each of those 5 rights that you have in your Bill of Rights, that makes you an exceptional nation, and compare it to places like Ireland, England, and other soft tyrannies under the quote-unquote democracy.
Sure.
Do we have freedom of religion? Sure, to a certain extent. But you generally have, if you look at places like England, while it's not a theocracy like Iran, it's very much, you have your state-run religion. The Queen is the head of the church, of the Protestant church. So there's no separation from it. You look at the control that you have. Freedom of speech. We claim to have freedom of speech over here. We really don't. You have politically correct speech. You have it in some aspect in America, but I could tell you stories of words that just sound like other words that you're not allowed to use.
Really?
Yes. I remember a story where this is about 3 years ago. I was doing volunteer work in a really underprivileged area, and one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to bring in literacy classes so people could learn to read and write. And we were not allowed to call them literacy classes. It wasn't politically correct. And I went, I'm sorry, so why is that? No, it sounds too much like illegitimate.
Hey, let's stop right there. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back. For everybody listening to the podcast right now, we are having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Oh no! Is George Soros playing around again?
I don't know what's going on, man, but something happened with the audio file, and I'm just having to screw with it now to get it up and running the way that it should be doing.
Oh no, George Soros, man, he always screws with people who love freedom. You know, so I tell you what, I think here's a real good time. You go fix your audio files. Buddy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the people know why the Yankees are the greatest sports franchise, because that is what they wanted to listen to.
Oh, don't do that, dude. Don't do that. You're going to hurt me so bad.
I know. Your boss is going to come back this week and he's going to go, "What have you done to my show?" John spoke about the Yankees.
Why
did you let him do that? Our show is dead. I know we believe in freedom of speech, but even John should be stopped. Exactly. We should censor John.
We should censor John, yes.
But on a serious note, because I know you want to talk about this, so let's give the people who are watching a bit of insider baseball. Let's get to the story you wanted to talk about. You begged for the story to be in show prep. Did you all hear what happened to Stormy Daniels this week?
Oh, I did not. Don't even.
No, you begged. You know exactly what happened to Stormy Daniels this week. You were dying. You were like, "We got to talk Stormy Daniels."
Don't even lie. Stop lying.
No, you were. I'm not lying. You wanted to talk about Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels is ruining her reputation over in the UK because she got the highest ever figure was, I think it was like £500,000 to appear on Celebrity Big Brother. And Celebrity Big Brother thought this is a great... I don't know. I personally don't get it, right?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I don't get... If you're a producer of a show, I don't look at Stormy Daniels and think, geez, ratings.
Right. Nobody does.
Especially in the UK.
But nobody does, do they?
Okay. I don't... Well, they obviously did because they paid her like £500,000, which was like the highest ever, and it's not even close. Like, it's not like someone got £450,000 and she got 500.
Yeah.
She got way more, but they built up sets for her. So they built her a set in the Oval Office. They built her a set on the Mexico border. But anyway, she no-showed.
And we're back. As you guys can hear, or you probably did hear, having some technical issues, but I think we're doing all right. So, enough talk about Stormy Daniels, if you guys were listening on the back end there. Let's get back to the Bill of Rights. Now, we were talking about the First Amendment. Obviously, we haven't even gotten out of there. How about we wrap it up as quickly as we can here, John, on that one there?
Sure. So in Europe, while we do have a freedom of the press, you see a lot of mainstream media being run by the government. Mm-hmm. You know, you look at in England, they've got the BBC. In Ireland, we have RTE. Other countries in the world, it's all run by the state media, and they generally tend to be the largest. Freedom of assembly, sure, you have freedom of assembly, but you know, you get judged by it. You know, if you don't hang around with the right people, it can be tricky for your job. Mm-hmm. Petition your government. Well, that's the one actually place Europe is really strong in, because we believe in democracy. Yes. And if we can get 50% plus one person to say, you have that, boom, guess what? You can either get an extra right or you kiss goodbye to a right. So that's why America and the First Amendment is so critical with those 5 amendments.
There you go. And so we broke down the First Amendment. Obviously, it was broken down into 5 separate segments. Now let's go on to the second, something that pretty much everybody here knows everything about, but we've got to go through it anyway. So, Second Amendment, John, lay it on us.
I think you should take the Second Amendment. I did the first.
Oh, I see what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're doing here. All right, so the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. Now, many people will say, oh, it's not the right to bear arms. It's the right for a militia to bear, blah, 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 and all this other jazz. No... Let's kind of clear the air as that's concerned. So, well-formed militia is where they go, and in that instance, when they say well-formed militia, It's the right of the people shall not be infringed.
Amen.
And I mean, beyond that, it's shall not be infringed. Now, here's the thing. Biggest question that I have with you, sir. Yes or no, states should be able to infringe on those rights?
That I would say?
Yeah.
No.
Of course.
It's nature's law. It's a right to. It's not even a right to a gun. It's a right to self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
You have a right to defend yourself ever how you see fit. No, they should not be able to infringe on those rights.
Exactly. And that's the point. They shouldn't be able to touch it. They shouldn't be able to do anything. They should be. The only thing that they should be able to do is to sit back and watch you as you do your thing. As long as you aren't doing something illegal, they have no right to whatever they're doing.
Absolutely. Now, I will say you could convince me of the argument of states being able to say CNC and open carry. Mm-hmm. You could convince me that they have a decision there.
Really?
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's infringing on your rights. Open carry or concealed carry. I'm not a big open carry fan personally. I never have. It's not something I ever defend. I defend concealed carry for many tactical reasons and logistical reasons, and it's just something I'm a lot more comfortable with.
I got you, but that's just a comfort level thing. I mean, personally, if I saw a person carrying a gun, and I understood where they're coming from, I wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen people carry guns openly, and I haven't got a problem. I just think it's just something, people are more passionate about certain things, and mm-hmm. I'm more, this might shock you, I'm more conservative, more, keeping things quiet and, not making big deals about things. I know I don't do a good job about this, been very vocal about certain things, but yeah, I just like, not letting everyone know everything, and it's just a personal thing. Mm, but I would like to share a quote because, George Washington had a great quote on the Second Amendment.
Okay, sure.
He said, firearms stand next in importance to the Constitution itself. They are the American people's, not the American militia, the American people's liberty's teeth and keystone under independence.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
So, Second Amendment is absolutely critical. Mm. Now we get to the Third Amendment. The one amendment that you can make an argument hasn't been infringed, but I will make an argument that it has been infringed on a daily basis.
Sure, go right ahead.
The Third Amendment is you're not allowed to have soldiers quartered in your house. Everyone always thinks, oh, that's never been infringed. You're Alex Jones and kooky if you think soldiers are ever going to be stationed in your house. Well, you see, that's the thing about 2018. Doesn't have to be a soldier. The NSA are in your house all day long. They go through your emails. They go through your faxes. If people still send faxes, I don't know.
They don't.
No, faxes went out. Do y'all still have pagers?
No, nobody has pagers over here.
Damn, they were so cool.
Unless you're a drug dealer, and then you can have a pager.
Well, with libertarian policies, who knows what the future holds.
Very true.
But no, they're in your house every day. You have absolutely no privacy. But the Third Amendment also links to the Fourth Amendment, which is Europe.
The Fourth Amendment is to unwarranted search and seizures. So you have the right to defend yourself against unwarranted search and seizures. The government cannot come into your house, seize your property, go through your stuff, or anything without due process.
Absolutely. And this, because this is the one amendment I got really passionate about because, I'm sure you have the same debates online with your friends and family, and you hear the same line that, well, John, it's the left that's the problem in America. It's those damn Democrats.
Sure.
The Fourth Amendment is the one amendment that the Republicans alone butchered, slaughtered, drove over, reversed over it, and drove over it a second time, and pretty much have ruined solely by themselves.
Is this about that whole George Bush thing that happened back in the day?
Oh, you could say that.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it could be.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it could be. There's the other part of the Fourth Amendment, which is also is critical because you have to actually issue a warrant under probable cause, but you also have to do certain things with that warrant. Because if you go back to the history, and the Fourth Amendment's very interesting, how the founders came up with it. I actually did a show on this a couple of weeks ago with the whole Boston Massacre. Of all the infringements, they used to do just general warrants to take stuff, because your colonists were full of smugglers, and you were taking Dutch tea and stuff, and they would just take stuff and just do a general warrant, and they'd search for anything. If today under the Fourth Amendment you're supposed to have probable cause, you're supposed to describe the place that's to be searched, the persons and the things that are to be seized. So it can't just be a general warrant. Hey, Stephen, guess what? We have this general warrant. We're just going to search your house, and hey, we'll find something.
If we find something that we like, we're going to keep it. And if we find something that we don't like, you're going to go away for the rest of your life. Yeah.
But also you see these stories which are really frightening, and in places where you shouldn't hear stories, I'm sure you've heard them over the years, like horror stories in Texas. And some of the PDs in Texas have really taken powers just because it's under the guise of drug enforcement, where they've taken cars and $10,000 off people just on suspicion of drugs, and then they have to claim to get it back. So that even in Texas, even the great Republic of Texas that I love, has trampled on the Fourth Amendment,
which is pretty weird, and it's pretty sad that we're going there, and that has happened. But let me ask you a question, man. Do you plead the Fifth?
I always plead the Fifth. It's such. Do you plead the Fifth? Absolutely, I plead the Fifth all day long. But here's the thing, there's so many rights in the Fifth Amendment that to actually go through. So there's so much more to it. So why don't you take it away, or is it?
All right, no. I'll take this one. So no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in case arising to land or naval forces or in a militia. When in actual service in times of war and public danger, nor shall any person be subject to the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy, double jeopardy. You can't be put into double jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to bear witness against himself, nor be deprived of liberty, life, or property without due process of law, nor shall their property be taken away for public use without compensation. And with that, we will be right back. All right, let's have a little talk.
Stormy Daniels.
No more Stormy Daniels. Please. No.
Okay, you want to go to your other favorite story in show prep, Omarosa.
You're just trying to make people upset, aren't you?
No, I find it funny. Look, we can always talk about the Yankees because that goes down really well.
That really goes down well, and I'm pretty sure we just lost 5 people. No.
I know it's. What's funny? It's funny because on my timeline I'll talk about politics all day long, and people engage and people are great. I talk about the Yankees, and all of a sudden it's like everyone either just ignores it or has this free for all going. I'm going to share a logo of my team, and it's like, okay, so just.
But why?
They're just all a bunch of haters.
Everybody's hating.
So as I have, I'm not a famous person, but as I famously have said to several people, and people love when I say this to them, they come for my analysis. As I say, if you're not a Yankee fan, you're a commie. And people love me here. There's nothing more that they love better than an Irishman telling them if they're not a Yankee fan, they're a commie.
I'm sure.
But it's the accent that get away with it.
I think it is. I think it's the accent that really gives it away. Nobody's too concerned about it because they're like, "What's this guy? He can't be a Yankee anyway. I mean, why? What's with the accent, man?"
Now they're all like, "Oh, that voice is so dreamy."
I don't think so. I mean, maybe.
Oh, they are. Look, chicks dig me. They look at my body and they listen to my voice and like, oh, John, if only I could have me a slice of that. If only I could have me a slice of that pie.
I mean, you do have a pretty good dad bod going. You have the dad bod.
The problem is I'm not a dad. That's the only problem.
So you could play that off pretty well, though. You just find some random Irish kid to walk in next to, and
hey, here, meet my kid. He'll look different every time, but yeah, it's my kid.
You get into a rut and you accidentally find some like random Asian kid just walking down the street. Yeah, it's my kid.
My kid, absolutely. That's mine.
That's mine.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I don't think so. No.
No.
All right. So I'm gonna pause here. Say let's go radio silent because I don't know exactly when the music's gonna hit. But let's just go radio silent as of now for the next 10.
You just enjoy your few seconds of peace.
And welcome back. You are listening to Defenders of American Exceptionalism on Mojo right now live. You're also listening on IPM Nation as well as over on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, on our website at DOA Show. And if you'd like to, go to the DOAShow.com/shop. You can get some awesome swag like the shirt that I'm wearing now. We might have more to come very, very soon, hopefully, maybe. I don't know, John. How about you? Anyway. Also, if you guys would like to, and you want to see this grow, and you want to see this keep on coming, you can go to our page and go to the membership section. You can become a Defender with us. And if you do, it's $5 a month, $50 a year. And when you go for the $50 a year annual, you will get a shirt for free. It's the hashtag I See What You Did There shirt. A couple of people have already gotten it. We've had a couple texts back and forth, and it's awesome. They love it.
Well, who wouldn't want to become a defender of American exceptionalism?
Exactly. Well, I mean, people consider us apparently we're fascist because we defend American exceptionalism.
Well, you know, I didn't want to say it, but you know, I just truth hurts sometimes. You know.
Yeah, truth hurts.
And I will say this, you know, if you're not watching us on Facebook Live, you're missing out because, you know, if you're just slumming it on the show, listening like on Spreaker or on any of these other platforms, you know, you're getting the Bill of Rights, but you know,
you're not getting
show,
what we're looking like.
You're not getting the real news and the real analysis that, you know, you get on Facebook Live. You know, like, you know, you've got the Bill of Rights on the show, but you've got we've discussed Stormy Daniels, we've discussed Rosa, we've discussed the Yankees. So if you're not watching on Facebook Live, and plus you get to look at me
or YouTube,
you know, or YouTube, you get to look at my dad bod. I don't have kids, but I've got the dad bod down.
Somehow,
so
I mean, it's magical.
Yeah, exactly. And you get to look at Tom Cruise, you know, with glasses.
Hey. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we went through.
How's the ankle, by the way? You fully recovered from your stunt on Mission Impossible?
Yes. I had to walk with a limp for about 2 weeks, but I got to full running capacity very, very quickly. Yes.
I know all about walking with a limp, but that's a whole different story.
We'll get out. That's a whole nother day. All right.
That's actually coming up in the next break. So we'll come on to Facebook Live. You'll hear that story.
Or YouTube. You can go to YouTube and see us live.
Or YouTube. I keep forgetting YouTube.
Yeah. So we're on the Fifth Amendment. And we were going through, you can't do double jeopardy. You can't be compelled to witness against yourself. You can't be deprived of life, liberty, property without due process. And none of your private property shall be taken away by the public without compensation.
Absolutely. And these are absolutely critical of a justice system. But, you know, if you look at how far you know, people have come from this, where, you know, we see people regularly deprived of life, liberty, and their property, and you have this culture in America right now, and it's going throughout the world, where, you know, everyone automatically assumes if we don't like them, they're guilty until they're proven innocent.
That's really weird. And let me ask you a question, because this is really, really on my nerves with this one. It's civil asset forfeiture.
Mm-hmm.
That's that last one right there. Without compensation.
Yeah.
It was taken from me without compensation, without me being called a criminal, without any of these problematic things.
Yeah.
Stuff gets taken.
Yeah. And it happens all the time, and you've seen big stories over there where I can't remember what the business the man was in, but he was making deposits of $9,999 on a basis. He was some type of retail outlet. I can't remember if he was a grocer or like a clothing outlet, but he was making these deposits, and the reason he made $9,999 was because every time you go to the bank and you make a deposit over $10,000. The government is let known. Anytime you take a withdrawal of it, the government knows because it's keeping track of your money. And they eventually said, well, you obviously know about the $10,000 law. You're doing something very suspicious.
We're going to take your money anyway.
Yeah, we're going to take your money. And the great thing about it is you're not innocent until proven guilty, or you have to prove your innocence. And then when you prove your innocence,
you're still not giving your stuff.
Yeah, you got to then go, hey, I prove my innocence. Now, hey, you know all that stuff you took from me? Yeah, can I have it back, please?
And their answer is no, because we've already spent it.
Yeah, it's in Fort Knox with the gold.
That's exactly right. No, we've already spent it. We bought brand new boots, and that's what all. Anyway, so Sixth Amendment, John, go.
Right, so you've got many rights under the Sixth Amendment. First of all, I'm going to do it in bullet point form. You got a right to a speedy and a public trial. Mm-hmm. So basically, you can't be made wait forever, and it's got to be in public. Mm-hmm. You have a right to a jury which is impartial of the state. The reason that's critical, again, goes back to some of the acts in just before the Boston Massacre, where what they actually used to do and what they did to the colonists was the jury didn't have a jury, it was a judge. And the judge got 5% of the rulings against you. So he had a vested interest in saying, hey, Stephen, you're guilty. Because if I find you guilty, I get 5% of what I get to claim off of you.
That's bad.
It also has, you have another right that has to be in the district wherein the crime shall have been committed. Because back in the old days, again, going back to your colonists, before in the 1760s, what they used to do was they'd actually say, well, the court case is here and you have to get there and you had to pay your way there. But if you couldn't get there, because back in, the 1760s, there wasn't like, Delta Airlines and American Airlines and Sprint
on a boat.
And Amtrak, exactly. You were automatically found guilty. So you have a right to an impartial jury of the state. You have a right to be a trial with a district where the crime shall have been committed. You have a right to be informed on the nature and the cause of the accusation. Mm-hmm. It can't be just a general, hey, we find you guilty of something. You have a right to be confronted with witnesses against you.
So you have a right you can face your accuser.
Yes, absolutely. You can look them in the eye. You can ask them questions. You have a right to the compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in your favor, i.e. you have a right to defense. And you also have a right to the assistance of a counsel for your defense. It's not like, hey, Stephen, we think you're guilty of something now. I know you know nothing about the law and you know nothing about life, but hey, you got to go defend yourself. No, you have a right to counsel.
Right, and that's that whole point of even if you don't have somebody and you can't afford it, you're still given a lawyer to defend you.
Absolutely, and that's pretty critical.
All right, so let's go through. We have the seventh, and that's basically the value of the controversy shall exceed $20.
$20, how cute.
$20 back in the day was a lot. We should really pump that up to nowadays, and that would probably be in the $20 back in the 1776. Carry the one, something like $30,000 at least minimum.
Yeah,
not $1 million.
Yeah, give or take.
Give or take. The right by and then the right of a trial by jury. So you got that. Eighth Amendment.
No excessive bails, no fines imposed, and no cruel and unusual punishment.
No cruel and unusual punishment. That's what they talk about with terrorists. Yeah,
that's the one amendment that the founders didn't get into. They kind of left that to let's be vague about that. What's cruel and unusual punishment.
Yep.
And that's the sad thing because you can make the argument. Obviously everyone goes to the terrorist side of things, but I always feel and I always look at it the other side of the argument because I'm kind of going, and let me ask you this question, right? Let's say, you have good suspicion I've kidnapped your kids.
Right.
You really telling me you'd go, well, I'm going to be totally rational here. You're going to go Jack Bauer, or are you going to try, in your case, go Jack Bauer? You're going to be Tom Cruise, and
you don't know who I am. I could be so much worse than you think I am.
I'd eat you.
I could. You don't know.
That's teasing.
I'm a fat guy in a small body, man. You don't know.
Oh, that's funny. I'm a fat boy in a real small body. I'm really like 4 foot nothing. I'm really an Irish leprechaun.
Oh, there you go. But so you got that, no cruel and unusual punishments, and that's kind of weird. And then you have the Ninth Amendment: the enumerations of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. That sounds pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, basically, when you think about it, come on.
Don't take anyone else's rights.
Right. You can't take anyone else's rights. That's it.
Yeah.
And then and then you got the 10th.
The 10th Amendment, my favorite amendment, because this is truly one of the reasons why America is exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
You have, and I will read it out, it is basically the Federalism Amendment, which is basically says, power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So basically what this means is, not to get into the lingo of the actual Constitution, if you want to go do your research, your founders were very clear on the role of government in the Constitution when they wrote in 1787. They wrote 3 articles of power. You have Article 1, which is Congress, which where all powers shall lie in the body of Congress. Mm-hmm. So anyone who thinks presidents can actually make laws, I'm sorry, you're saying something is unconstitutional and you're supporting an unconstitutional law, which pretty much every president, with the exception of George Washington, has done in some way, shape, or form. It all started with at least once, and even the current president likes doing it. It all started with John Adams and the Alien Sedition Act. If you want to go do some research, go research. That was the first unconstitutional law that the president has passed. Everything lies in Congress. If you want to know what powers Congress has, you just need to read a couple of sentences. There's 18 clauses in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. Mm-hmm. They make the laws. Article 2, power is the president. He is nothing more than a figurehead. At the time of the founders, a president was the lowest title. Just think, if you were to think about, in modern day terms, think a peasant or someone really lowly in society. That's who the president was back then. He
was the butler.
Basically, and even
he was the guy. So when you think of like executor of an estate, he was the guy that just got the things done that was told to him. That's all he was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Sign the laws or veto the laws. And meet the people. Right. That is literally their job. And Article 3 power is the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And the Supreme Court, if you're interested in the Supreme Court was pretty much flawed from day one. If you want to understand what caused it to be flawed, check out the ruling of Marbury versus Madison, which is a case that you should hear all the time. It should be a case, if you want to talk about litmus tests for Brett Kavanaugh, mm-hmm. The litmus test for every judge in the Supreme Court is what you think of Marbury versus Madison. If you think Marbury versus Madison is a good ruling, you have a problem. And that is federalism. And everything that I didn't say is left up to the states.
Exactly. And we'll be right back. There we go. We didn't even get time to do like all the rest of the junk. Man, we have one more segment up. It's gone quick. It's gone really quick.
I think we might have some overtime.
We might have some overtime. I don't know.
We might get some, because it's always my favorite term, we might get some free baseball.
Oh, yeah, free baseball.
There's something cool about being in the stands for free baseball. You ever have it happen to you?
No.
No, it's a really cool. It's one of the coolest feelings, but it's also one of the suckiest feelings.
Oh yeah,
it's one of the coolest feelings because you pay your 20, 40, 60, $80 to go to a game, depending on what level of game you're going to. If you're going to Yankee Stadium, it's like $200 freaking bucks to go watch a game, and then it's like extra innings, and you're like, I paid $200 for 9 innings, I'm getting free baseball. It's really cool, and then you realize the realization hits you, comes smacks you in the face. Yeah, you know, all the people who sell concessions, they're gone home.
Right.
You're like, I have extra innings. I need a, you know, I have a 10th and 11th inning. I need a hot dog. Yeah, they're all gone. It's like, oh man, come on. You know, if there's free baseball, you should get like a free dog or something.
I mean, yeah, you should. Well, maybe not a free dog, but at least have dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
at least have dogs.
Yeah, at least have some hot dogs and, you know, have a beer. And, you know, how about half off? You know,
right.
Like the old, you know, even Yankees used to do the whole promo. When they scored 5 runs or more, you got $5 off on your Papa John's order. But because that guy, CEO, said something stupid and got recorded, that promo's gone. So
yeah, that's gone out of that's gone for the wind.
Yeah. You know, New Yorkers are having it tough, man.
What are you going to do, right? What are you going to say?
I know, and then you've got this idiot going around in running for governor going, yeah, America was never great. Jeez, come on. So, I know. I know, you know, it's so funny. I honestly think, you know, the way you used to have, you know, do you ever play this game when you were a kid where like someone would do something stupid and they're like, you can never do anything more stupid. And you're like, hold my beer, I'll do something more stupid. Right. I honestly think the Cuomo brothers are playing that game this way.
They have to be like, they're texting each other. Oh yeah, hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. Listen, you think you were cute defending Antifa and morally punching people? Hold my beer. I'll get more controversy going this week.
I got this. I got nothing.
I got this. Speaking of controversy, you're going to have to hold the show for a minute because I got to make a change.
Well, you go ahead. Go ahead. Looks like John's out of the way. And welcome back. This is the final portion of the Defenders of American Exceptionalism. We have John with us, and for those who aren't watching, John just did a wardrobe change. Luckily, not on camera, so that's good.
Not the Stormy Daniels part of the show was past.
Thank God. Oh, but I think he did the wardrobe change because of one little thing that we wanted to talk about tonight. Obviously, there were a couple things that we didn't get to hit on. Things that we wanted to talk about eventually, but it just didn't come to pass. We wanted to talk about the Catholic Church, but we don't have enough time to do that. So I think we'll save that for when Dylan comes back, because I'm sure he'll be on fire for that.
I'm sure.
And we'll take that out of the way. But let me ask you a question. Researchers have found that there are 31 anti-atheist microaggressions that we do on a pretty much daily basis, or so and such, as what they've told us. How many do you have, sir?
Well, you know, since we're talking about microaggressions, in case you're not watching, and if you're not watching on Facebook Live, you're missing out. I kind of figured I'd, you know, offer up a microaggression to atheists and Jews and Catholics and everyone that basically has no taste and is basically a commie. I am offering the microaggression of wearing a Yankees jersey. And if I may turn my back on you for 1 second, this is not just any Yankee jersey.
Uh-oh.
Because this is the Yankee jersey that just keeps on giving.
Uh-oh. The gift that keeps on giving. Is that Rod?
That is A-Rod.
A-Rod. Oh, my gosh.
You know, one of the greatest days of my life was the day he was almost at Boston Red Sox, and then he got some sense and came played for the Yankees. So there's my microaggression out of the way. So you know, that
really pushing buttons
everyone
tonight. You know that?
I know.
Really pushing buttons.
I know. It's what I do. I get to push buttons, and so you know, is that one of your 31 microaggressions, sir?
No, because this is for atheists.
Well, atheists, you know, can be commies too.
Oh, I see what you did there, Erica. I see what you did there. Anyway, so they broke it down into sections. You got the F1, the F2, you've got an F3, F4, and so these sections are assumptions of inferiority, denial.
Can I just ask a question just for clarification purposes?
Sure.
Did they specify what the F stands for? Because
No.
when I saw
it's like
F1 and
levels.
F2, I kind of went, I'm thinking of an F word, all right.
Yeah, I know, but no, they didn't specify. So this is so you got assumption of inferiority, you got denial of non-religious prejudice, you have assumption of religiosity, endorsing non-religious stereotypes, and pathology of non-religious identities. Let's kind of go through the list. And how many of these have you done, sir? I'll start with the first 9 here, the F1.
Start with F1.
I'll start with F1. Others have assumed that I would be selfish because of my lack of religion. Have you assumed that somebody was selfish because of their lack of religion?
No.
So why would they think this?
I don't know. I actually feel sorry for atheists.
I do too.
I think faith is a gift, and I think rather than looking down at atheists and people who are non-believers and who don't share the same faith or are weak in faith, I don't look down on them. I feel sorry for them because it's truly one of the greatest gifts you can be given. And when I see them, I don't feel bad. I feel bad for them, but I'm very thankful that I have a gift. So that's generally what I do.
Yeah, well, you talk to them because you love them. Others have devalued my contributions because of my non-religious background.
No, never done that.
Okay.
I generally don't ask people their religion because it generally doesn't end well.
Right, it usually ends in some sort of argument. Others have assumed that I am untrustworthy because of my lack of religion.
No.
And these are all questions. This is what they did. They sent these to to a bunch of atheists, and they sent all these questions and got back the responses from them. Others have assumed that I would not be helpful to another person because I lack religion.
No.
Why would you assume that? Everybody.
I've seen Christians be unhelpful.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of I mean,
I see Christians go to church and be awesome in church, and then the minute they're outside that church after that service, it's whoa.
I was about to say, didn't we just bypass the entire Catholic Church issue that's going on right now? Mm-hmm. Others have
some could make they were very helpful, but not in a good way, and in a very bad way. And I don't really want to discuss that issue because I'll get wound up and get very angry. And let's have some fun.
Let's not go there. So others have assumed, there you go. So others have dismissed my contributions because of my non-religious background.
No.
Have you ever assumed that they would cheat on their work because of their lack of religion?
I've assumed people would cheat on their work, but it has nothing to do with their religion. It's more to do with their moral character. And in some cases, they're blatant, in their face of, hey, we have this shortcut, I'm taking it.
So here's the thing. I've got this is the entire point of this, and going through and all of these questions, it always starts with others have assumed blank.
Yeah.
Now, how do you know that they've assumed that unless you are assuming that they have assumed?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you've gone to them and asked them, hey, when you said this to me, did you assume that because of my lack of faith that you would be blah, 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 blah?
Yeah.
So how would they know? This is all subjective. There's no reality in this.
Well, the next one you can is actually an interesting one to ask.
Okay. Are you talking about the that I don't know right from wrong because of my lack of religion?
Yeah. That one you can actually have a discussion about.
That is the one that you can have a discussion about because, well, if you don't have any sort of faith in anything beyond yourself, what is right or wrong?
Yeah, like if you take it from a point of view of a Christian who believes in the American founding, you kind of understand that, your rights come from your creator, which we believe, if you're a Christian, is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And you kind of have the first 2 commandments God gave, don't eat from the tree, and, go have sex and reprocreate the world. And then you have the 10 commandments. You kind of have your right or wrongs. Whether you agree with them or not, you kind of have that moral basis for society.
Yeah.
Does it mean if you're an atheist you can't have right or wrong? No, but the lines get blurred.
Well, not only that,
the lines get blurred because they make government their god.
But you have the same problem that that Benjamin Franklin warned of.
Yeah.
When he was who wrote that book? Name freaking just went out of my head.
Age of Reason.
Yeah, the Age of Reason. When he was writing back, talking about the Age of Reason, and he's like, "This is going to kill faith, despite what you're thinking and despite how you're doing. Do you understand that your setup and how you're talking about this and how you're writing about this will destroy the foundation of faith that made it possible for you to believe the way that you believe?"
Yeah.
It's like these people don't understand that the reason why they can be atheist, because of a religious founding and a religious foundation that put in morals, put in guidelines, put in laws, so that you can live by them and not have to have a faith.
Mm-hmm. But there's also the argument of point of view of, you just look at, lying, cheating, and stealing your way. One of the reasons we don't do it, or sorry, I actually can't speak for anyone else, I'll speak for myself. One of the reasons I live the life I lead is because, one, I think it's the way to try and live your life. I'm a sinner and I'm very far from perfect, but the ultimate aim for my life is you're fighting for your citizenship in the next world. If you don't have a next world and you don't have any type of religion, what is stopping you literally, if there is no consequence, bar, maybe going to jail, of a manly consequence, what's stopping you, cheating and stealing your way and, robbing people? Where's the moral compass for right and wrong?
I've got to say that...
I'm not saying you can't have it. I'm just saying it's actually one that you could actually have a debate over. I'm not saying that I wouldn't judge them. But let's ask a question. Let me give you an example from an Irish policy where I would argue something like, that tomorrow morning the Irish government could meet and say, hey, we're going to tax you 95% of your wages. I would make an argument that is immoral. I could make a biblical argument about it. I could make a freedom argument about it. If you don't have any of that underpinning, how can you say that's immoral?
I got you.
You might say it's wrong.
What I've got to say to that is that is a pretty harsh argument coming from a person wearing a New York's jersey. John, where can everybody find you?
You can find me pretty much anywhere. I'm on Twitter, Freedom Disciple, Jonathon Dunne 58 on Facebook. I have a show on the Blaze called Freedom's Disciple. It's on every platform that you're on: SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Omni FM, Castbox, Stitcher, Google Play. You can find me. Look up Freedom's Disciple or Jonathon Dunne. You'll find me, and you get to see my smiley face.
There you go. And you can find us everywhere that he just mentioned, plus more.
Oh.
We'll see you next time. And it's
no
done.
Overtime?
And it's done.
No overtime?
No, it's
no
done.
Overtime?
I mean, you want some overtime? I'm
no
still running.
No overtime.
I'm still running. You want to do some overtime?
Is there anything you want to talk about that you want to do overtime? Is there any word?
I mean, we could just be chit-chatting, but I mean, I know it's 3:00 where you are, basically, right?
I've had a tin of Coke. I'm wired.
You're wired now?
Huh?
Thanks to the Coke?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my.
The Coca-Cola has me wired to the moon.
Oh, man, that's not good.